Good afternoon, good evening, and possibly good morning, free enterprise fans around the world. My name is Possum Morpheus, and I am joined by Professor Renderer this evening for commentary for this wonderful match between two of the top performers in the Ninja Shirt group for this edition of the Adamant Cup. Professor Renderer, you stoked for this matchup at all between Kyrios and moonblazewolf?
Oh yeah, I've seen Kyrios already. I've seen a little bit of moonblazewolf outside, and we got some interesting objectives as well. We have another case of just two moon required objectives and mo- um, two different hook objectives, and also by extension two underground objectives with that Falcon and Forge and Pinktail and Falcon combos. So we got some interesting lineups, and we also have a starting edge, which is always a nice thing you want to see.
Yeah, for the runners, that starting edge is definitely a blessing. That is going to be a huge source of damage, not just now, but also later. Edge likely to be carried throughout the entirety of the seed, especially looking at the objectives, as you pointed out. Launch the Falcon. We might have a non required hook route that ends up being required in addition to normal underground access. We have the Forge, which is naturally going to lead to a longer seed. The Giant as well is on the table. The Pinktail, so an adamant armor is guaranteed. Lots of really good objectives here. Also, a great naming scheme from Moonblazewolf here. Ninjas wear shirts, but pirates wear pants to cover up their booty. I'm gonna read the whole thing for y'all. That is a plus S tier style dad joke from Moonblazewolf there. Very well done.
Yeah, that's cute. I actually haven't bothered to do a naming convention. Yeah, just like at all. Been meaning to, but haven't gone to it.
So with the edge start here, something that I would be looking for our runners would be one of two things: either hitting Eblin Castle for some really nice loot, or going straight to Troya, checking out the public treasury and the free key item. Obviously, all of this is very dependent on what our runners are going to start with for a key item. But where do you expect to see our runners go? Some things, hot looting destinations? Do they just kind of plug ahead and just go for objectives right away? What are you kind of looking for here?
Since we have Edge as our starting point, I do feel like getting some looting done so that Edge becomes online as soon as possible is probably in the cards. Like you mentioned, Eblin Castle, one thing. Just and if we get like something like any hourglasses, that will help with possibly going ahead and grabbing some trap chests there. Um, and if we get like a Teller or something, we might just see an early watery pass instead. We'll see what happens though as we will soon get underway.
Yeah, it looks like we are just about ready to go. Both runners back on the main screen showing the objectives. And let's find out what our tracker, Engie Dave, this evening is going to be pushing for his first button. And let's see what Harumph, our restreamer and seed roller this evening, has provided for our runners. Looks like no buttons to be pushed, just a ribbon. A single exit is in the kit with the dolls there hanging out as the boss. So that single exit is interesting. Personally, I would still be looking at Eblin with this group. Sid and Edge really benefit from those high tier weapons you can find, but Watery Pass with that exit, or even a very early Antlion dive, not out of the question. So, going to be very interested in seeing where our runners opt to go here.
Yeah, I agree. And looks like they're gonna both head down to Eblin Castle, which makes a whole lot of sense. You have the power with Sid and Edge right available, and you can tank a lot. You can do a couple tanking here with possibly going into these trap chests. We'll see if that's the case. Ribbon isn't too bad either. Like, I mean, you won't turn on a ribbon at the start of the game, even if it's not a key item.
Yeah, Ribbon's great. It can help protect against Golbez. It can help protect against any sort of other, things that could be an issue. Kyrios finding a second one. Blaze finding the Staleman and Skull chest. That is actually quite good information. Additionally, there was a headband and a poison axe that showed up. So some decent stuff for this team that is floating around already.
Yeah, this was something that we mentioned like before this started up. Just the fact that we're seeing these nice weapons from moonblazewolf, soon Kyrios, um, and also we got a full moon for Edge, so that's right up our alley.
More importantly to me, even than that full moon, is that glass hat. This is something that can be put right on that sturdy physical defense. And early on in the game, that means that like a back row edge here may be able to solo a fair bit of this Eblin Castle. I'm actually interested if Moonblaze Wolf here gets a little frisky because he did the right hand side of the tower first, or side of Eblin Castle first. If he tries to take on a trap chest or two, just knowing that Edge is unlikely to perish because of that glass hat.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really nice thing for Moonblaze Wolf. They're in a good position right now. Um, just by doing this, if they choose to do it, that's actually really nice because we'll see if maybe we might see an Amasa pop up, we might see maybe a Uramura, maybe even an Adamant armor.
Yeah, it could be any number of really good things. Speaking of good things, that left tower, which Moonblaze Wolf is fading for right now, maybe forever, had a white spear and a cursed ring in it. So Moonblaze Wolf opting to fade the left tower, which we know had a couple of trap chests in it. So not going to have that full complement of loot that Kyrios is going to have. Definitely going to have some downstream effects if Moonblaze Wolf is not able to equalize that looting disadvantage at the moment. It is a little bit up on time, but a little bit down, especially that cursed ring. And if a cane shows up, that white spear is no joke as well. There also was a Leviathan orb, I believe, that was found, and I don't think Moonblaze Wolf got that either. So potential for a cane or a Rydia to really do some damage for Kyrios. And a hook shows up right away. That's huge because it'll launch the Falcon objective and the Pinktail. Additionally, it's an extra character check, and with everyone starting with an exit and having exits in that Troya shop, I would expect our runners to be peeking that hook sooner than later.
Yeah, and it also leads into a gated character, so we might see Cecil or Fusoya show up on that hook route. And yeah, as I was pointing, I was interested to mention too, since you mentioned the cursed ring. Right away, if once Kyrios has a couple characters in the tank, depending on what he may choose, he may just put that cursed ring on someone and just create an agility anchor right then and there.
Yeah, absolutely. That curse ring probably not going to be a huge impacting item immediately because you want to be fast on the overworld, which Kyrios and Moonblaze Wolf will be with that edge. But mid game into late game, into the Zeromus fight at the end of the game, that's where it's really going to be, a differing factor. Is having full control over your party and having full turn parity. That could be a huge advantage for Kyrios if Moonblaze Wolf does not keep an anchor, similarly to what Kyrios will have access to with that cursed ring.
Yeah, and so both Moonblaze Wolf and Kyrios, with that hook in tow, is going to go ahead and bring up that hovercraft. Might be seen either just Kyrios may also just follow Moonblaze Wolf into Mount Hobbs, or pick it up and just head over to just drop it up over at the Eblin area, which is exactly what Kyrios is going to do. And we also see Palom and Kainazo here on Mount Hobbs.
Yeah, I like the play to go after the character aggressively. That being said, I am not a fan of Palom on this flag set. Early on, he's going to be great. He's going to be able to push some level 2 spells, push Virus at level 19, Quake at 23, but falls off really fast just because of the gear that's available for Zerkers on this flag set. So Palom is a nice to have, but certainly not a need to have. Always good to pick him up though, get him early, and he can even be a good anchor because his agility growth is frankly garbage. It's right on par with Sid. So not the best, not the worst early on, but probably a character you'd be looking to replace. Kyrios does show us Bacchus wines, coffins, cat claws, a couple of goodies in the shops. The Bacchus wine especially are very nice for this party, and just in general to find on this flag set, since it does end up being Zerker heavy usually. So we'll see if the option to chase this character earlier for Kyrios may lead him to a different place than Moonblaze goes. But looks like Blaze is going into Antlion Cave, so some early divergence here while Kyrios is finding a cane. So that is the White Spear, going to be a huge advantage early on for Kyrios from that left tower of Eblin.
Yeah, and moonblazewolf will be down that white spear because we did see from moonblazewolf that they decided to fade that left tower, which had that white spear. So already, Kyrios is already building up the party well enough. We're already having 3 Zerkers alone currently, because with the amount of loot that we saw from Eblin Castle, this is definitely looking like a party that will start going fast really quickly.
Yeah, for both runners, it'll go fast. It's just going to be a matter of can Moonblazewolf keep on track with Kyrios with that early gear advantage. If anyone can, it would be Blaze. And oh, hey, a Magma Key is going to help with that. With the coffins in Eblin and with the potential for early Quake on the Kid, the Cane pickup may drive Kyrios away from Hobbs. The Magma Key may give Moonblaze an early advantage there, having access to Quake if he can find some Sirens as well. So that also means, as chat is pointing out, that Sparkle that was on the hook route could be any of the Sparkles, but also puts Wyvern back in play on the hook route. Not the most difficult endgame, but probably puts hook dives off the table for a very long time, and also makes that Cursed Ring even more important for Kyrios.
Yeah, I've seen it time and time again. That Sparkle could be literally anything. Like it could be something as simple as Plague, or as you mentioned, difficult as Wyvern. Just by virtue of just like, well, you don't know what this Sparkle is until you actually encounter the fight. So yeah, if because of that Magma Key, if it does come out that Wyvern is on the Rubicante spot, then yeah, that we'll have to wait until a couple more levels, or maybe like once the party is all nice and pumped up or whatever, to fight that Wyvern.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting points of this flag set is normally we live off the mantras of chase your objectives, collect your freebies, things along those lines. But that is not an objective that's going to be desirable for our runners at this point. Moonblazewolf opting to go down to Tomra. Let's see if we get a job dwarf check. A chaplain. All right, we got a chaplain hanging out in Tomra. More importantly, we had a mute knife hanging out in Tomra. The reason that's so nice is Edge can wear 2 weapons, so that could be Full Moon and a Mage Masher, that mute knife or mute dagger. That does a ton of damage to Asura, to the Ruby form of elements, the Magus Sisters, and a host of other enemies as well. So that is a huge pickup as well for Blaze to try to help maybe turn that equipment disadvantage back a little more equal. I'm finding hourglasses as well in Tomra.
Yeah, I've seen it come up where the mute daggers have been quite a valuable pickup in this tournament thus far. So that pickup already for Moonblazewolf is actually really, really nice, as we see a Murasame down in the Fey March.
Yeah, Murasame also a pretty darn good weapon. No one's going to complain about some fake Hanzo just laying on the ground. So another huge pickup for Blaze. Also an Artemis bow. A Gungnir Spear. My oh my. Just oodles of stuff laying on the ground. The Gungnir Spear also helps kind of equalize a bit as well with Kane. It's no White Spear, but it's good enough. The Artie Bow for Sid, the Murasame for Edge, the loot in this Feymarch cave pretty much has equalized what was found in Eblin, so not as much of an issue now for Blaze on the equipment side. And that's good to see because of the implications of this match in the Ninja Shirt group. You got Kyrios at 2-0 with a chance to put himself in very good position to sweep this group, and Blaze at 3-1. 4-1 likely gets into a play-in for first, but would absolutely guarantee a play-in for at least second in the second third match. So both runners with a lot on the line here. So glad to see the loot equalize a little bit. And two sprites in the Feymarch that you do kind of have to peek. Mylon and Friends on the right, and either Ruby or Elements on the left. We'll see if we get peeks of both. Looks like Blaze says, nope, I'm out. And Kyrios is going to head to Baron Inn.
Yeah, the fact that you see a Rubicante over on the Leviathan spot kind of makes you feel a little bit uneasy. Because if it is actually a Rubicante, then you're in quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, both of those fights are not fun. But we do have a little bit of everyone's favorite, Senator Crocodile, hanging out in the Baron Inn. This is not going to be a difficult fight whatsoever for Kyrios, but we're going to be here for a while. So everyone strap on in, and let's see what maybe the Sheila 1 check turns into once moonblazewolf gets back above ground, and see kind of where things progress for our runners. In the meantime, make sure you do give them a follow. Our runners both absolutely amazing at this game. Kyrios, a newer runner, moonblazewolf, you know him, you love him, been around forever in Free Enterprise. Does a great job for the community and otherwise. So, go ahead and give them a follow as well while they're putting on this show for you.
Now, interesting thing to note as well, since moonblazewolf had also found a spoon in the Feymarch chest, so either if it's possible that Eddie may be on the table, or if that doesn't show up for quite a long time, that could be doubled as a dart for an easy quad 9. So that depended. We'll see what happens if Eddie does show up sometime.
Well, and that's one of the interesting things is a lot of folks have preconceived notions of what they want to do when a seed starts. That they don't like things such as Spoonword. Even with his ultimate weapon, he's still super squishy. You got to invest a lot in to keep him alive. And I don't know moonblazewolf's stance. I don't know Kyrios' stance on Spoonword. I know I will take him in a pinch, but with this team, with the damage that they already have, I don't think I would take Edward here. I think I would keep that dart for emergency situations, especially given the potential of a Ruby or an Elements at Leviathan. I would be very on the fence about picking up Spoonword. Maybe you take him for a little bit, but then you ditch him pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing to point out too. For me, it kind of depends. Like if it's super early, then sure, yeah, then he's staying on the party full, right. But if it's somewhere like we already like right where we're seeing now, where there's a couple of damage, like already high damage enough from of Edge being one of them, and just having that like the more damage from like continuing on with the characters that we're seeing, then yeah, I might just substitute set Spoonword for just being a dart for easy quad 9.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we saw moonblazewolf buy 10 coffins and 3 Bacchus. I do wonder if he intended to buy 10 Bacchus and 3 coffins, based on the little bit of menu hesitation there. That'll be interesting to see if there is a return trip made, because 3 Bacchus is quite a bit. He actually just sold a couple coffins to buy some karate gis there as well. So some interesting shopping from moonblazewolf, and that Baron Inn I guess our runners just have everything available. There's a darkness crystal to go with a Porum. Yeah, the seed is our runner's oyster at this point, and wherever they want to go and whatever they want to do, they have access to. The Giant of Babel's on the table. Could get a cheeky Mac Giant grind. Could go play with some sirens. Could just go to the moon and look at the ribbon room. Lots on the table here for the runners.
Yeah, it's also nice to see that darkness crystal as early as it is. Just because also it's another one of those gated character spots. So looks like Kyrios is going to go ahead and raise that looter whale right now.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense as well. Anytime you get a chance to find a Cecil or a Fusoya, and you don't already have an endgame party, you're going to take that chance. So I definitely like this from Kyrios, poking around and trying to figure out party composition, even if it is a little bit sacrificing the progression route. Characters can often help you overcome any disadvantage by having the right ones on this flag set. And I think both runners have already seen a lightsaber as well, should it be a Cecil. And then if it's Fusoya, well, Fu doesn't need equipment, he just needs you to kill a couple bosses and learn all his spells.
Yes, and so I think so. If also one thing too is that 'cause since if Kyrios finds a Cecil, then it's an immediate ordeals dive. That's what you have to do. You want to get that Paladin Cecil online as soon as possible, as if you find Cecil at this spot.
Yeah, the other thing that it becomes is not just a play for ordeals, but I think then you highly consider routing in the trap chest in Eblin Castle, given that there's roughly a 40%, I think just under 40% chance to hit a tier 8 item, and there's no bad tier 8. They're adamant armors, X-Scals, and crystal swords. That's it. So a 40% chance of hitting one of those, you're definitely looking at going after uh, some form of trap chest to try to get the sword for the guy. So we'll see what character shows up, but it does look like we have some vanilla. Kyrios not going to be complaining at all, while moonblazewolf does get through a rather sneaky wyvern there. So wyvern at Fabul defense means no wyvern on the hook route. So some good progression there from moonblazewolf, and some good character pickup for Kyrios. The Baron Key may continue to keep Blaze away from the moon for just a little longer, and anytime you are without a Fusoya, you do end up in a situation where you you get very worried when you finally come across him.
Oh, you love to see that. That's an adamant armor on Sheila
Ooh.
1. Yes, it's not a key item, but you love to see it either way.
So that also is something that's going to help keep the run balanced. Because Kyrios definitely got an early spike from Eblin, definitely got an early spike from that Fusoya, but almost immediately counteracted by the Adamant that Blaze picked up. So that's going to allow that Edge to just go ham. I assume we're going to see the Adamant placed onto Edge and just watch Edge go burr throughout the rest of this overworld and even the majority of the underworld. So that's a great thing to see again to kind of bring parity back for the runners. That adamant armor also will have just as much of an impact long term as Fusoya will. So huge pickups for both runners in the span of just a few seconds.
Yeah, and already that edge is almost close to either Muramasa combo or double Masa combo. It's already currently that edge is holding on to a full moon and Murasame. I mean, you can't really shake a stick at that. Not at all. It's still really nice to see. But we'll see a darkness crystal pick up from moonblazewolf in about a few minutes. After, he's gonna have to go through this this fight with Senator Crocodile and his buddies.
Yeah, and I love this play we're seeing from Kyrios on the other side. That you have Kyrios going through and taking the Mist Cave boss, which is purely getting extra spells on Fusoya. Going to Mist Cave, going to the waterfall, things that on this flag set you never have to look at. You don't have to do under any circumstance. But in this case for Kyrios, there's a benefit to doing them, and that is 3 spells on Fusoya. So I love this from Kyrios as a way to get that extra power on Fu that you wouldn't otherwise have. The quicker you get to nuke, the quicker you get to Quake, White, level 3 spells, Virus, the faster Fu will start to help. So it's a little time investment on the front, but a lot of time saved on the back, especially with things like Dwarf Castle already available. Nuke on Fu can help you get through that in a hurry. Might even see ordeals for Kyrios here to get 3 extra sets of spells on Fusoya, even without a Tela or a Cecil.
Yeah, it's interesting to see those two boss spots in this flag set because, as you mentioned, there really there is no boss hunts like in this flag set. You do not need to do any boss hunts at all, and it just so happens that with Fusoya being this as early as it is, you just need to get those spells online as quick as possible. So it's it's in a way it's kind of humbling to see something like those two spots show up at all in this tournament.
Yeah, it's great to see it. The only other time I can recall seeing it was actually when I did exactly that with a Fusoya, where I was like, I need spells, and that's probably my bias towards why I like to play. It's just to fish for those extra spells on Fu to try to hit a level 3 or another impact style spell. But we do have Kyrios taking that Magma Key underground, while Blaze is going after this Baigen here at Baron in 2. A very rude Baigen under normal circumstances, but our runners have found so much early power that they are both going to just crush their way through. And Kyrios does also pick up that Murasame, picks up Dragoon Armor. Be interested to see if Kyrios picks up the Artemis Bow on floor 2 here as well, or if he says that's enough, I'm good. But looks like he does get that Artie Bow as well. So a lot of good loot for both of our runners.
And also opts to pick up the Gunna Gear as Moonblazewolf gets his Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, so Blaze going to have access to that Fusoya. Kyrios going to potentially be able to play in the Fey March, actually. Having Murasame and having access to that Fusoya, there is the reality with a Dart and with a reflected, Fire 3 or Cure 4. Some work could be done if it's the Elements fight at Leviathan. I don't think he will be frisky enough to attempt that, but it is on the table if he wanted to make a little bit of an early gamble.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when Kyrios spots the 2 summons here in the Fey March. So with over on Moonblaze sides, actually opts to get rid of the Sid in favor of the Porum and just gonna get that get her equipped. And it's interesting to see that because you have the option to do twin casts, either Comet or Flame or Flare, whatever it is. Just those can come in at a nice pinch, whatever they lands on, and that's like it's a nice little early game thing to see if you find the 2 early.
Yeah, it's I think a little late for Twin at this point, maybe under emergency circumstances, but already having Virus on Palom, I think kind of outdoes what Twin will. I think this is a play simply for someone that can cast Berserk. I don't know if Blaze would pick up that Porum if he had 10 Bacchus Wine. I'm very interested to ask about that post-match because I do wonder if this is a cascading effect from what I think was an accidental purchase of Coffins instead of Bacchus. Also, shoutouts to both our runners. Kyrios not even looting, just going and saying hi to the Job Dwarf, but both of our runners giving us Job Dwarf, so very well done to both of them. So that's fantastic. Chat also pointing out, could be looking for Blink. But yeah, either Berserk or Blink. I think that's the reason you're taking Porum here, is you just want a White Mage. It doesn't have to be Rosa, it doesn't have to be Fu. And Tela or Porum is frankly going to do more for this team than Sid right now. So I definitely agree with that pickup from Blaze.
Yeah, as we've seen it countless times, that blink is by far one of the best spells in the game, just because you get to negate two punches on a character at any given point.
Yeah, and oftentimes in places you're going to in places you're going to want to cure or, prevent damage, oftentimes Blink for 8 mana does more than Cure 4 does for 40. Because if you prevent 2 hits, oftentimes Cure is only healing 1. So a lot of times for 8 mana you can do more with Blink than you can for 40 with Cure 4. One of those interesting little side effects, I guess, of folks maybe not understanding just how good Blink was when they programmed the game.
Yeah, it is a very very nice spell for white mages, and that's why Tella comes with it at the start. Just the fact that having that negation for 2 punches on a character is just that makes Tella a lot better. And you don't even need to go up ordeals for that. That's the good thing about it.
Yeah, you just start with it for free. Speaking of free, the Dark Elf on the Barren Throne going to pose no problem for our runners. Moonblazewolf, I think about to be through it. There we go, there's the crumble. And Kyrios being greeted by the Blarg dragon itself will be very quickly through this and dispatching of said dragon. But Blaze will be showing us the character, as well as one of my favorite cutscenes now. And that is when the twins in vanilla would save you with the Stonecast. You end up with 2 random sprites now from the game. So I love this little cutscene coming up. We do see a Tella show up. Blaze says, "Nah, I'm good. We'll worry about that Tella later." And let's see who is going to be saving our characters today from certain demise. And it looks like I have no idea what that is on the right, and I think that's a lady in the pub on the left.
I think if that might either have been the Leviathan during the cutscene when the Leviathan shows up in the ship, or it might have been or maybe just me. I'm just thinking, oh, it's just like a demist or something, but I'm more leaning towards the Leviathan than demist.
That would make a lot of sense also as to why I would not recognize it as someone who has literally only played vanilla one time with quality of life effects. So that would definitely make a lot of sense from my eyes. Now that Liberate Barren Castle, we do finally have an objective lit up for one of our runners. Only yielded a Stardust Rot. Not going to be doing a whole lot for our runners, but we do get to peek the basement now as well. This is a fairly rude spot. A lot of nasty things can reside here. It's fast, it's punchy, the magic is good, but Water Hag probably not going to pose much of a threat to our runners, especially now that they both have adamant armor, since Kyrios now has completed the Sheila 1 check.
Yeah, and what if this yields a key item that we need? This actually ends up becoming a very free fight.
Yeah, it's one of those where without the adamant armor, this could be air quotes free. This is now just 100% free with zero concern. As much as Anna wants the Water Hag to believe in itself, or Eddie to believe in himself, or whomever to believe in themselves, there's not much believing going on here other than we believe this fight is over.
Yeah, that's again, you'd love to see the Water Hag on this particular spot. Leads to a pan, so we can finish up the remaining Sheila checks. And if that could lead to something like a Pink Tail or a Sand Ruby, or one of the 2 key items needed for the Forge.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the pan is fantastic because that's 2 extra key item checks for free, just because Moonblazewolf had the chutzpah to come down here and check. Now, granted, the adamant armor certainly gives you a lot more confidence than not having one, but I don't know if this is a check that everyone would make in this situation, so definitely heads up to Moonblaze for doing that. And we'll see if he is able to reap the rewards from this pan, which looks like we're going to get some instant turn-ins on which is of no surprise at all. I do wonder if we'll see a cheeky save scum here, and maybe be looking to route in Keyless Tower or Dwarf Castle if this Sheila 2 does not pay out.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to point out too, since both options only yield a key item check. So, but more so, the fact that the Baron, the Dwarf Castle in particular, only gives out a character, also gives out a character rather than a keyless tower. So we'll see if what Moonblazewolf opts to do should this pan not show up, or should throw up anything good.
Like a Crystal Shield, which is objectively not good.
Yeah, that doesn't, you don't want to see that.
And we do get the save scum from Moonblazewolf, so if this Sheila 2 check does not give anything, he will be resetting back down to the underworld here, and just going to save a couple of seconds versus having to fly back underground. So nice little heads up play there from Moonblazewolf as well, while Kyrios is collecting his Tela, as well as his Stardust Rod, and we will see if we get a peek into the basement as well from Kyrios.
Here comes that pan turn in from Moonblazewolf. Yeah, but that's a ninja. That's an immediate save scum.
Yeah, I mean, a Ninja Head is actually really good late game for Zeromus for end game fights in the exact event you don't already have an Adamant Armor on your edge. So this is probably one of the few situations where you're resetting out of that. If not for the Adamant Armor, I think you would keep that Ninja Shirt. It is legitimately that good for edge. But no dice this time. Kyrios decides I would like to go to Ordeals. Meanwhile, Moonblazewolf going to Dwarf, so continuing a little bit of divergence here. But notably, no Water Hag, no basement check for Kyrios. If he never makes that play, we know that he's going to save time.
Yeah, just because of the fact that the pan just does not yield anything of note. And speaking of free fights, we do have King Queen Evelyn here on the first Ordeals boss. Okay, I mean, it's a thing. You probably would like to see King Queen Evelyn on something like the moon or anything like that, or namely that ribbon room. But I guess you could just get through this no problem. It's kind of just feels a little weird just to see it here right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's not happy with what they found. Even with an Adamant Armor, Adamant Armor still cannot protect you against waves from Ogopogo. That is a nasty Nope Noodle in slot 1 of Dwarf Castle. Now, again, Blaze has the Adamant Armor. We'll get through this. But that edge could, by the end of this, be the only one left alive if the hits come out poorly for him and the waves don't cooperate as well. So for Blaze, getting through this will be a good accomplishment, but I do wonder who else is going to be alive by the end of it.
And of note, we blink and you'll miss it. We did see a D-miss on the second Ordeals fight. This one's actually a lot more manageable, because just that one's actually a lot more nicer to see on a spot like that. It doesn't really hurt too much.
Yeah, the interesting thing also about this flag set, for those watching who may not be terribly familiar, is that there is no boss hunt on this flag set. No demist, as we've had in prior tournaments. No wyvern, as we've had in prior tournaments. Just no boss hunt whatsoever. So that demist represents very little of value for our runners, where normally you'd be excited to see demist. Now it's just another boss. And meanwhile, we do get, well, Kyrios probably came up here for spells, and that's exactly what Kyrios is going to get. A sparkle up here with a wizard hat. Wizard hat is very much so not what you want out of this, but is going to get a lot more in the way of spells on Fusoya, who is already up to 1700 health after this, closing in on Nuke if he doesn't already have it. Meanwhile, Blaze running into an annoying boss in Dwarf Castle, spot 2, and that's Mom Bomb. Again, going to be able to get through this just fine, but a very annoying dwarf castle.
Yeah, and the character that we saw was Radia, which moonblazewolf immediately said no to. And yeah, it makes sense. Radia, you at this like round mid game, you don't take. Like you just don't take her.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few niche situations where you'd take her. Like, let's say you found no good Zerker gear, but you're closing in on 10 key items. Maybe you buy like 14 sirens after you get to 10 and grind her to nuke. But it's just not going to do it under normal circumstances. And with the weapons that Kayn and Edge have, Rydia doesn't really have a home for either runner. You kind of, at this point, it's Bahamut or bust. Leviathan's great early game, but we're past the early game. We're nearly 40 minutes into the seed now. So yeah, it's an interesting situation that our runners find themselves in. As far as party comp, they're pretty locked into Berserkers at this point. So I would expect them to kind of shoo away mages other than maybe exactly Fusoya in Blaze's case, and probably shoo away everyone in Kyrios' case.
Yeah, the fact that Kyrios went up to the moon to get that Fusoya and found out about that Fusoya early speaks volume and how the difference in the party composition in terms of mages are concerned. That is actually as interesting because we did see a tower key from the Dwarf Castle. That's an immediate trip up to Lower Babel.
Yeah, that puts Blaze at 7 key items. And for moonblazewolf, this tower represents 2 more key item checks, specifically 2 more checks not named the Fey March. And that is going to allow them to go through and probably pick up a couple levels, a couple key item checks. What he doesn't know is it will also get him more spells eventually on Fusoya. But at this time, Tower is by far the most logical play for what Blaze has left. Now, if these Tower spots zonk out, I think you're looking at Feymarch first before the Moon here. Because of that Adamant armor, you know that Edge can't die to either Ruby or Elements. And it becomes 2 checks that are just right next door to each other. For Kyrios, I'm interested to see what his route is going to be. Having that Fusoya opens up the moon and makes it a lot more forgiving than a lot of other situations you might find yourself in 40 minutes into a seed. So I think Kyrios has a much harder decision post-tower than Blaze will. So definitely very interested to see where the routes diverge from here.
Yeah, and another reason why Moonblaze will would opt to go to the Fey March if this doesn't yield anything, is that you're right here. You're right here, no questions asked. Although it's kind of a hard thing to see Golbez here over on the Dr. Legay spot.
This is a super annoying spot for Golbez. The magic is not good, but it's just good enough that the Lit 3s will do more damage than you want them to. It has somewhere around 20,000 health. Golbez is not going to take care of himself and deal a lot of damage, which is annoying. So you're just stuck in this weird situation where you're like, what do I do? What's the most efficient way to kill this? It's probably Zerking up Edge, but even that doesn't feel great. But I would imagine we're going to see a Bacchus Wine get consumed by Edge here, just to get those attacks rolling in, and then kind of whatever happens in this fight. But I'm curious to see what Moonblaze opts to do with this fight.
Choosing to get some Starbales up, I believe this might just be a fact that maybe just to offset the fact that those Lit 3s could be a problem. But yeah, we're already seeing a Bacchus Wine being consumed so that Edge can start punching really fast. Yeah, and in general, that Golbez is like a thing you just do not want to see, just because of the long cutscene due to his long script, and the fact that Shadow can if you don't have a way to prevent KO from being negated, you're dealing with a situation where your best Zerker could just get demolished by Shadow, and that will cause you just to waste a little bit of time trying to revive him and get her back up to full health through like a cure or something.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it was probably just a hedge against the virus. Once Edge became Zerk, the lit, fire, and ice, or excuse me, the lit and fire spells, Golbez doesn't do ice, won't do anything to Edge since he has the adamant armor on, but the virus still will, as it is non-elemental. So I think it was a hedge against that, which is perfectly reasonable, rather than just going a route of Zerking the one character. Because that could get into a tricky situation where you could actually die even with an adamant armor on. Looks like Blaze was attempting to get XP on everyone. Kayn does not get the XP. Not the end of the world. We know where Sirens are, and there's still plenty of seed to do, plus the Giant of Babel, so no shortage of XP. And is rewarded with the Legend Sword, so that is required. So top of tower going to be required. Kyrios and moonblazewolf will be high-fiving in this tower right about now. And, well, almost. And Kyrios going to be taking on that Golbez, while moonblazewolf gives us whomever is going to be in the super cannon room. And that is probably not a threat. No, just an Odin. So nice to know that they don't have to deal with Odin later.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to compare to on like just the complete polar opposite between Golbez, where whether you like it or not, you have to fight Golbez and his long cutscene to get one of your main objective, like part of your main objectives sorted out. Whereas here with Odin being in the super cannon room, that's just the fact that in general that spot has low HP to the point where that fight just becomes an automatically free thing. Just see the fact that Odin is there means, okay, we don't have to run race against the clock to prevent an Odin slash from occurring.
Yeah, I mean, those Zantatsukins, they don't do much at these spots, but in some other spots they can be absolutely terrifying. If you get Odin at, let's say, a moon spot, most moon spots will deal north of 3,000 to 4,000 damage. They can be very unpleasant. The moon, however, as Chad is pointing out, could be fairly reasonable for our runners. A lot of the icky bosses, like the Bygons, the D-Mists, the Wyverns of the world, the Gauntlet, out of the pool already. We do have some things, I believe, like Evil Wall that are still out there, but Evil Wall when you have an adamant armor, Most things when you have an adamant armor, honestly, But it'll be very interesting to see what the moon is like this time of year. To go with that legend sword, we get a strength ring from the super cannon room. Not really what Blaze was looking for, and is, as I kind of expected would happen, going to play around in the Fame Arch, which I think this is reasonable. You make sure that you leave no stone unturned on the earth. It's definitely a little more of a conservative route, but a play that I don't hate, because you don't really want to lose to just not doing something that you have access to and you can take out before going to the moon.
Yeah, and I mentioned that you're right here. You might as well get this out of the way now, before you opt to go to the moon. So that strengthening is going to get used on that edge. So that'll be nice to for that edge. Just keep adding on to that continued power that we are seeing, and the headband and glass helmet swaps are occurring from the two Zerkers that Moonblaze has.
Yeah, and those Zerkers are going to keep doing work for Moonblaze. I mean, they're going to be doing work for both of our runners. The million-dollar question, though, is how is Blaze going to be feeling when he hops up to the moon and sees that Fusoya? We know he's strong, but will he feel like he has left something on the table, not having that Fusoya picked up immediately? That certainly remains to be seen. I love the play going in after the Mylon and friends first. I also love using this hourglass here to stop the drain attacks. That's a beautiful little time save there that you just don't see that often. Mylon proper is going to say, "Hey, friends, family, children, go forth, do things," and they're just not going to. So all you're going to have to deal with is lit counters here, since those gas don't have the boss bit.
Yeah, I will to probably answer the question. I feel as if, well, I think if Moonblazewolf might be just committing to the Basidia twins in their magic capabilities here, because already we're seeing Quake Kid, we're already seeing Berserk from Pora. I think in due time we might just keep those in the future. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. It's just that, yeah, that Fusoya was there ever since we had taken down the Baron Inn.
Yeah, I think that that in Blaze's case, Fusoya is still on the table. I think that one of the twins gets replaced. No earthly idea which one, but having the ability to get, especially in Porum's case, getting rid of that white mage for one that can cast Cure 4 before level 48 is a huge deal. That's the big concern to me, is what do you do for healing with this party on the moon? Cure 2 and Cure 3 just don't really cut it. So we do see Blaze getting through and getting a rat tail. So that is another key item, getting Blaze closer to 10. Probably going to save and take on either Elements or Ruby here. Might even see a save scum on the rat tail, but fairly unlikely. Meanwhile, Kyrios has picked up their Legend Sword and also is going to get a Strength ring. So it'll be interesting to see where our runners go from here. I do wonder if Kyrios fades the March, fades Baron Basement, and just goes to the moon, or if he also makes the play for the March, and looks like that is what is on his mind. So double Fey March for our runners.
Yeah, again, you're right here. You don't want to leave anything left behind. You want to leave anything behind. You want to get this as soon as possible, and there's those elements.
Yeah, this Elements fight normally would be terrifying here, but in this case, it's really not going to be too bad. We just see Moonblazewolf going in, going to get some quarter leg at some point going on here. Smartly equipping the Mute Knife as well. Part of the highlighting of that Mute Knife was exactly this fight. The Ruby form is terrible, and the Mute Knife to chew through the mage portion very quickly. So I think this is a very heads-up strategy that Moonblaze is going. There's 8,300 damage, one shot straight through the Ruby phase. Beautiful execution there from Moonblazewolf to get through this fight quickly.
Yeah, that's a smart move to make. That something that I personally should have I should be more cognizant about if I ever encounter one. But I should never think about it at that point. So yeah, so already onto the Valve phase. This will be done in due time.
Yeah, be pretty quick in and out here for Blaze. So despite not having that Fusoya, Blaze is running out of checks on the blue planet. Now only has a rat tail remaining before heading to the moon. Has just made incredibly quick and efficient work of this blue planet. And let us see just a Sork robe coming from Elements. So half of value in the Feymarch without the Mute Knife, since Kyrios does not have it. I do wonder if maybe we get a fade of that Elements, or if Kyrios does still elect to go after that Elements fight there. I do know from a prior race of Kyrios's, when he was against Arusta, had a required Elements at Leviathan blocking the Darkness Crystal. So maybe a little bit of deja vu for Kyrios, but certainly based on that race, we'll know how to handle it for this one. So sometimes that experience may come in handy as well for Kyrios to get through that fight quickly, even without that mute knife.
Yeah, I would know firsthand because I was the one who was on the mic for that one, if I'm remembering correctly.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, it was a very interesting seed and definitely a learning experience for both runners. I think for the second time, unfortunately, Blaze has accidentally purchased a 10 stack of coffins instead of Bacchus wine. Um, this Eblin shop is currently the bane of Blaze's existence right now. The first one I was wondering about. This is just going to eat at him. I know that. Kind of a feels bad moment, and I'll stop bringing it up from here. But man, that Eblin shop doing Moonblazewolf dirty right now. So hopefully he doesn't tilt or anything like that from it. Moonblaze is a heck of a runner, but that is an upsetting situation to now have like 18 coffins instead of 18 Bacchus wine for sure.
Moonblaze will get a twin heart from that rat tail that will put him at 10 key items, and then okay, so this is the situation that really depends on the person. Do you go in or do you not?
For me, I would clear out the rest of the overworld in Blaze's situation. By committing to the Fey March, you are committing to Earth, which means you're not going to leave ordeals behind. You're not going to leave the harp behind. I think we see the full clear from Blaze here. Again, outside of the Eblin shop stuff, Blaze has run an impeccable race. Everything has been beautiful. The execution's been on point. There's no reason for Blaze to feel behind, so I think full clearing the Earth is perfectly reasonable here, and that's what I would expect Blaze to do. Additionally, the K main checks, which the Twin Harp is one of, do have a fairly high chance to yield key items, and we are still in need of a Pink Tail, half of the Forge, potentially a Luca key, potentially an Earth Crystal. There's a lot still floating out there that could show up, so I would not be surprised at all to see a full clear of the Earth from not just Moonblaze, but also possibly Kyrios. And Sand Ruby as well, as chat brings up.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what Moonblaze Wolf opts to do as they're going to make a quick work through this ordeal just by virtue of the amount of power that Moonblaze Wolf has in this party.
Yeah, huge amount of power now for both runners. We also saw Kyrios execute perfect reflex strats with Fire 3 on that Elements fight. 2 Fire 3s and was right out of there. So great job by both runners handling a very nasty Elements fight and getting through it with ease. Kyrios is going to double back for the Baron Basement. And then I believe the only thing Kyrios will have left at that point is the Rat Tail to Twin Harp, other than the Moon, of course. Moonblaze Wolf right now clearing out ordeals and is going to have exactly the Twin Harp and the Moon left after this. So our runners are going to be pretty similarly situated. And I don't think that Fusoya was able to fully catch Kyrios up, oddly enough. So I think Kyrios is going to be about a half a check behind. Obviously, still a ton of seed left. But this is where having turn parity with that cursed ring that Kyrios found may start to cut into that half check lead. That's going to be a very interesting thing to document, especially with the Giant on the table. The Element spot on the Giant has 89 agility, by far and away the fastest in the game. Not anchoring for that fight can be very sketchy. So it's one of those situations where without that cursed ring access, without a proper anchor, Kyrios could flip this half check advantage that Moonblaze Wolf has fairly quickly. So I'm very interested to see how the rest of this one turns out as we near the hour mark here.
Yeah, and this is mainly due in part to how quick Moonblaze Wolf has been just tearing through these key item checks. and all of that. Yeah, the sticking with the blue planet rather than going up to the moon to get a Fusoya has, in a way, helped, and has also, by extension, may have just made Fusoya irrelevant for this party. We'll see though.
Yeah, and in addition to that, chat brings up a great point that Nuke coming at 1800 and Virus at 1700 did not do our runners any favors, or excuse me, did not do Kyrios any favors in that regard. Basically being left with a situation of having a less than capable Fusoya. You bring him on so that you can cast Nuke right away, so you can cast Virus and Quake. And learning all of those very late definitely didn't do any favors there. Almost leaving you in a situation where you did a moon dive to get that character, and even with it being Fu, kind of came back with like a glorified baked potato, except for exactly that elements fight. Like Fusoya's had very little impact otherwise, which is kind of a shame for Kyrios. But we do see Blaze diving the Twin Harp as expected. Again, leaving no stone unturned on the Earth. I like the play from him. Again, he's played very well, has no reason to feel behind. I think it's a little bit of a defensive play, maybe thinking that he has a little bit of room to spare because of how well he's played, or just not wanting to lose by 20 or 30 minutes by fading exactly the harp.
Yeah, that's exact. I think that might have been, like, you might as well just hit on the nose right here. Just the fact that you're gonna just get this harp out of the way before you head to the moon makes sense, because you don't want to just leave that alone for a good while.
Yeah, and we do see some good little tech here as well coming in. The Kamikaze being used from Blaze, and then the Virus coming out to more quickly, without the script, get rid of this pre-fight, if you will, with the Dark Elf. We see Kyrios going to turn in that pan and pick up the Ninja Shirt. Did not see a save scum on Kyrios' side, so may keep that Ninja Shirt. But I guess we have to be quiet for music. So we'll stop talking. Enjoy, y'all.
Enjoy.
All right, looks like we have a Twin Harp check completed. That was Figaro Castle from Final Fantasy VI, aka Edgar's theme, I believe, or something to that effect. Well, too soon to know whether or not this is required. But if nothing else, it's a vanilla chain. So yeah, our runners are definitely going to head on over to the Tower of Zot. The question is, are we going to get simultaneous Rate That Treasury and music? Because that would be pretty cool and something you don't get to see every day.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I like it. It's quick enough. I mean, what we're seeing right here is just just Kyrios is going through the script right now. Or I guess not. We're just gonna go ahead and hit up Zod right now.
Yeah, no treasury on Blaze's side, saying I have what I need. Uh, Honestly, don't disagree. Has decent weapons for Edge and Kane. Has an adamant armor, so yeah, seems pretty decent. I guess we will once again be quiet though and enjoy your reprisal of music from Shredward himself.
Yay, Figaro Casso.
Well, we have good news and bad news. The good news is we got more music. The bad news is it leads to an Earth Crystal where we have no treasury, and the first character is an Edward. Again, even with a spoon, I don't know that Edward is a take here. Tough to say. Rosa is interesting. There is an outside chance with Sirens available. You could see a double swap here, taking Eddie as an anchor and Rosa as a white mage, and see a little bit of a grind, or you see neither character get picked up. And it looks like we're at least taking the Edward, but not the Rosa. So I think this Eddie is going to be the anchor, or is going to get equipped with that spoon, and Blaze may be saying, gimme some of that sweet, sweet spoonward action.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Just like you would think that at this point in the game where it's around middle to late game, you would just either take him as a agility anchor or you leave him be. But it looks like Eddie is going to be fighting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, with the XP that's still on the table, Eddie's definitely going to have some health by the end of this. We're going to be looking at the Giant XP, the Ribbon Room XP. That's 700,000 right there. And a grind those two fights, or those two spots, do make. In addition, launching the Falcons another 50,000 at 10 key items, plus any other moon spots that are needed. Could be upwards of a million XP on the table still. So definitely some potential here for the Bard to be a player in the late game. Anchoring does become a slight concern for Blaze, but most of the scary stuff is out of the way. I believe we have seen already Wyvern at Fabul Defense and Golbez as well. So the two primary causes for concern are gone. So Blaze probably justified in taking this Eddie here. Not having to worry too much about anchoring except for the Zeromus fight. Probably 40-ish minutes from now.
Yeah, I was smirking a little bit considering that Lugay was on the Valis spot and got to the part where he mentions the real fight and then immediately falls just a couple ticks, ATB ticks later on.
Yeah, nice real fight there. Goodbye. Thank you. Come again. Now, this is a little worrisome, though. You have now done the Twin Harp, which a lot of folks hate. You've now done the Earth Crystal, which a lot of folks also don't like. It led to Luca. These are three of the longest possible checks you could have, all coming off of one chain. None of them required. If this Luca key turns up empty, I think you're going to see some very spicy plays from both runners, because this would be the point where you would feel behind if you did this chain. This is a very interesting point in this race. This sealed cave key item is going to dictate so much of the remaining routing for both runners. I am here for it personally.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing to point out, and that I feel as if, yeah, in if I was in both players, like in moonblazewolf's shoes right now, and later on Kyrios, if nothing shows up here, then at all costs, I would just head up to the moon and then just start getting something done ASAP. Just because right now, like, both players are so at that first that one objective, which was liberating Baron Castle. That was number one, and there's still 6 other objectives left in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting distribution that we've seen so far, but we do get a white shirt. So this is, wow, this is such a feels bad for our runners. Now, that being said, personally, I 100% agree with the play. I think clearing out the Earth here was a fantastic choice for both of our runners. They're going to feel right now like it was the worst decision they've ever made in free enterprise history, because that is a Twin Harp, an Earth Crystal, a Luca Key. We're talking 10 minutes, maybe more than 10 minutes of checks that came up basically empty. Just devastating for the runners to do all of that and come up empty. So very interested to see where the routes take us from here. I think from Kyrios, what we're going to get is launching the launching the Falcon into the Luca key check. This is actually some really tight routing here. I like this a lot from Kyrios, showing some veteran savvy for a newer runner. Very nicely routed here from Kyrios.
Yeah, and I get the reasoning for it. You for one thing, you've surpassed the point where you're at 10 key items, but you also want that experience too. So you want, and also above everything else, an objective. So you want to just follow that mantra of complete your objectives and then take care of that Luca key in due fashion, just so that you can have something in the available to you. And then it's at the point where once Kyrios finds out the bad news about the Luca key, then it's where we get to answer get some of the answers to the question that we posed on what do the runners do afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, this whole seed so far has been a what do the runners do afterwards. It's been incredibly interesting how everything has dictated the routing, and I think both runners have played it extremely well. It's going to be interesting to see if Kyrios loses any time by doing this hook earlier than Blaze, who will come back with full moon levels and likely full giant levels. Because one of the neat things you can do with routing on this is you can clear out the moon, you can then hop in the whale for the giant cutscene, and it puts you right next to the hook route as well. So you can route giant to hook, and then in Moonblaze's case, possibly the forge as well. So a lot of interesting routing coming into play here, and I'm curious to see how it pans out for both runners.
And I was watching Moonblaze very carefully as to how he's going to approach that Fusoya opts to taking and just by substituting out Kane. That, to me, I was very curious. I'm very, very interested in knowing the reasoning behind this.
Might be leaning on some potential reflect or hybrid strats. Might just want to go with a 20 agility anchor. A lot of different things in play here. Kane does fall off quite a bit. I think he only had a Gungnir spear. Lots of reasons I can see to do that. Kane probably has a weaker top end than a Spoonward for sure. Definitely a weaker top end than a dual wielding Edge. So it's one of those situations where I 100% understand it from Blaze's standpoint. The pink tail, as chat is pointing out, it's going to turn into an adamant, and that is dedicated to go to Edward. So Kane kind of just is left without a great place to be in the party. And so, upon review, it does make a lot of sense as to why Blaze would go through and come to that decision to get rid of Kane.
And another thing that chat was pointing out too, because of the fact that moonblazewolf does not have that white spear, which was found very, very early on in the game in Eblan Castle, that also kind of plays into that factor where, okay, I only have a gun and gear, and that's like the only thing that Kane has. I have no white spear, and with the spoon being as early as it was, and showing restraint and seeing if there's like a flicker of hope that Eddie shows up, which he did. That to me says that he was probably hoping to find someone to replace Kane with.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I think we're all pretty much in agreement at this point that it looks like Kane's just the odd man out in this party, which unfortunately happens a lot to Kane on this flag set. He just becomes a tertiary or a quaternary option. And speaking of that one that one boss we were talking about that's still out there that's really rude, well, here's 42,000 health of Evil Wall. Have fun, friends.
Now, Edge will still get through this, just because of that adamant armor, and will also be able to survive crush phase just by having that adamant armor on hand. I believe I don't know if Eddie still has that ribbon equipped, because if not, then Eddie will go down. But if he did, then Eddie will get some experience to start off.
Yeah, 200k would go a long, long way to jump-starting Eddie. It would make it so, he doesn't get one shot by, well, a stiff breeze. Because 187 health on the moon, exactly a lot of health. But Evil Wall playing nice, hitting everyone with Blink on, and hitting the Edge with the Adamant armor on. So getting a pretty reasonable distribution of attacks right now. So things looking good for Blaze here. And meanwhile, Kyrios is just completing objective number 6, which is Launch the Falcon. That was Asura into Plague, so don't want to overlook how quickly Kyrios got through that. Blaze completed basically the walk down the LST in the time that Kyrios was able to take care of that hook route. So job very well done to Kyrios getting through that hook route quickly.
But Curly on that on the ribbon situation, Fusoya is the one who has it, and that's also a perfectly fine thing to see. Just having Fusoya stay alive through Crush Phase if it were to show up, which won't be in Moonblazewolf's case. That's something to have in mind, because in case Fu wants to get some couple health on the start here, and there's that Pinktail.
Yeah, Pinktail and an Avenger. The Avenger is nothing more than a very pretty dart at this point. Sorry, Kane. But yeah, that Pinktail represents that second Adamant armor. It also represents objective number 2, which Blaze is able to complete. So a dirty double coming in from the ribbon room here. Not only a required ribbon room for an objective, but also a required ribbon room for that key item that came out. So moonblazewolf going to move on to the Plague spot while Kyrios is heading down this Luca cave. That is a Leviathan that is going to pose little to no problem for this team. A little bit of waves, a couple of ices. Might be strong enough to take out Eddie here with the ices, but I think that's the only person that could go down to 1 ice 2 here.
Yeah, and at this point too, there's only Moonblazewolf only needs 2 more key items to be able to complete all of his objectives. So there's Kyrios's white shirt, and immediately just not immediately, but just relatively quickly decides to not to nope out of that. Again, makes sense because that's like why, and also kind of makes you feel a little bit bad considering, well, I after I launched the Falcon and I went on to Luca Key and found nothing. Now it's just you gotta head up to the moon map. Now there's nothing else left.
Yeah, this is kind of where both runners found themselves. Was in a situation where they were just clearing out the earth, clearing out the earth. Uh, Meanwhile, getting through the rest of the earth was Kyrios, having launched that hook, launched that falcon, and Blaze does find the adamant rock. So bottom up on the moon, paying off. The ribbon room having the pink tail, the adamant rock in the white spear altar. So Blaze now just a sand ruby from go mode. Could be over in a hurry here if the sand ruby decides to show up. So Kyrios looking like he's also going to go bottom up here on the moon. So we'll likely see the ribbon room and then the white spear altar as well. Probably going to follow in Moonblaze's footsteps, taking a very conventional moon route based on where the objectives lie. Kyrios up a hook route clear, launching the Falcon, but down 2 lunar altars and a walk down the LST. This is still really close, y'all. I do not think we have a favorite at this moment. Maybe Blaze by a couple seconds, but this is going to be really tight. And I do wonder still if that cursed ring can help Kyrios enough to maybe close that very small, like half check gap we've been talking about.
Yeah, there's a strong case for the Sand Ruby to show up here on the moon, with only 3 other moon checks left to go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we know that it has to be up here. There are no key items left that can be chased. Every other non-terminal key item spot has already been investigated. So everything on Earth is done. Could be in the value cave at the top of the moon, but it has to be up here on the moon. There's a sand ruby, there's a pass, and there's a package, and 3 of the remaining 4 spots are going to have value. Now, an interesting question becomes, let's say our runners end up finding value at the Crystal Sword altar and it's not here, and it's their 4th check. Do you do the top 2 moon spots pass hunting? Or do you just suck it up and, dive all the way back down to lunar subterrane? That will be a very interesting point from my perspective as well, to see if anyone fishes for a pass to potentially save some time.
Yeah, that I'm actually kind of I don't really have a definitive answer for this. The thing about going for routing the moon is that it's really dependent on if you believe bottom down or bottom up, like that. And I am the believer of going from bottom to top rather than going top to bottom, because with the fact that the thing about it is going from bottom to top is that you have altars just right next to each other constantly, and then you can just work your way back up the Crystal Sword altar, and then just once you're done with that, you're just going to exit and head back up to the Mura altar, and then also K value.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is just an apple from the Masamune altar. Blaze is keeping that XP, which is perfectly reasonable, especially for that Eddie. Looks like Kyrios having a little bit more of an issue with this evil wall, but again, we kind of know that, Edge is not going to die here. He has an adamant armor on. He's fine. And did get to hide the Edward, so going to pick up the XP there as well. So we do have small party comp divergence here with Kyrios having that cane, so is going to get an Avenger for a cane here, whereas Blaze has a Porom and an apple for said Porom possibly. So it'll be very interesting to see if a Tri-Zerker type situation, maybe with a Cursed Ring Fu for Zeromus, could pick up some time for Kyrios, which I think at this point he's going to need, because this Evil Wall fight is considerably slower on Kyrios' side than Blaze was able to get through.
It will be needed anyway, because that is an objective, and it will also lead to the necessary pink tail, which Kyrios has just picked up. Right.
Yeah, and we see Moonblazewolf heading to that Crystal Sword altar, and is going to be fighting, to absolutely nobody's surprise, Antlion in its natural habitat.
This doesn't surprise me either. We've all known it's the Antlion loves to be on the moon.
Yeah, so like there's this thing that for those watching from around the world, we call them snowbirds, basically folks who like go north during the summer and south during the winter, go to like Florida for their winter stays and like back to their homes in Michigan or the Northeast or the Midwest or wherever it is for the summers. Antlion has forgotten about the whole snowbird thing and just resides now on the moon. Has said, heck it, I like this one place way better. No vacation home, just home. Antlion just resides on the moon. I'm convinced of it. It should only happen like 1 in 6 times. I am convinced it's way more than 1 in 6.
Yeah, it has to. It has to.
Of course, this is purely confirmation bias as well. On Blaze's side, we do see that Eddie is on the ground. Surprising no one as well, Eddie on the ground on Kyrios' side. So 2 Edwards, 2 Deadwards. Meanwhile, Kyrios through that Leviathan going to pick up the Adamant Rock, and there is the pass from Blaze. So we do now know that both the bottom and the top of the moon are required. So Blaze is up the Masamune check and the Crystal Sword altar check, but is down the launching of the Falcon. Both runners, I'm guessing, are going to end up with the same key items, the same total pass count, the 17 out of 17 or 16 out of 17. Is going to be really, really close down to the wire here. And looks like Blaze is headed back into the lunar subterrane, so going to be picking up the Murasame altar first, and then heading over to Cave Value after that. So we shall see who ends up, in the right situation here. Does it end up being Murasame first or Value Cave first? And if it is Value Cave first, do we get a cheeky check from Kyrios going to Cave Value before the Murasame altar?
Okay, this isn't awful. This isn't like awful at all. Mylon Z on the Mura spot.
No, this will be not too bad at all, especially if a full moon is equipped. Edge will be dealing a ton of damage. Fu can launch Fire 3s, could launch Cure 4s. Any number of things can be done to really expedite this fight. Pretty much one of the freer fights left that could have been found, and yeah, there's nearly 7,000 damage from Edge with that full moon, and also getting an offensive Cure 4 cast here, and then a nuke as well. Another 8k. Yeah, Edge said, have a nice day, Mylon Z, bye-bye, and bye-bye, Mylon Z went. And Blaze is rewarded with the package. That's the fastest reset that you're going to see this evening, folks. That means that Value is at Cave Bahamut. So we are going to get, everything. The full course tonight from the runners. So thank you, runners, for giving us everything.
Yeah, it had to have either been the Murasame altar or Kirin Cave Bahamut. And it just happened to be that the aptly named Cave Value just happens to have value.
Yeah, value in the banana stand, value in cave value, however you want to phrase it. It's there. So well done to Harumph. Again, our restreamer this evening, giving us everything, a full sampling of what Free Enterprise has to offer. And oh baby, just in case you haven't had enough pain, here is the
Uh,
ultimate in pain. This is 1131 to 1305 damage per wave. Good luck and God bless, friends, because there's gonna be some damage here.
yeah, you would have to be very quick on the draw with that Cure 4 to just even be to even get through this fight, and that's exactly what Moonblazewolf ups. Just put that Cure, just get that Cure 4 up. Just make sure that 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 Palom or Porum, whatever is staying alive. That is Porum, right? Because Palom is gone.
Yeah, and we're on Blaze's side wearing cover booty shirts, not shorts, but shirts. But Edge does stand alone. Can Edge get someone revived? Yes. So we do get the extra XP on Forum here, which is not irrelevant. That's going to be pretty decent from Blaze here. An extra 70,000 XP can go a long way. So heads up, moving the battle speed down, taking the safe route, but more importantly, getting through the fight. And picking up that sand ruby. So that is go mode for Moonblazewolf. We are by no means done with this seed, as there's still a lot of work for our runners to do, but has access to everything that he needs to complete the seed. Meanwhile, Kyrios, heading to a battle with this antlion, is down roughly 1.5 moon spots. No, excuse me, 2 full moon spots now, but is up that hook route check. So still very close, and may be able to still pick up some time if he can get through the giant quicker, remains to be seen.
Okay, so the first course of action has to be this hook, or Pinktail. Probably the Pinktail first, just to get it out of the way. It's the quickest one of the two. Or just saying Ruby, that also works.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious if there's any consideration for Blaze. If a Cecil shows up here, do you take a Cecil? It's not a Cecil. Does Blaze take, is this a dupe Porum, I believe, as an anchor? And maybe get rid of possibly even a Fusoya? Says no. So going to go vanilla agility here, basically. And going to just take his chances that there's nothing super nasty on the giant. Hopefully that element spot with 89 agility does not cause Blaze any problems.
Yeah, to probably answer the thing about Cecil, I would say it's a hard no. It is a hard no. With the fact that we're at late game now, our party has essentially been locked in, so Cecil just becomes no longer necessary at all. I think Moonblazewolf has shown that he's wanting to have Eddie fight no matter what.
Yeah, and it's absolutely understandable that if the Cecil play does not make sense from the runner's eyes, that they don't go with it. So it looks like we are going to move the hovercraft over, picked up that Pinktail, gonna head down and take care of this hook route. And meanwhile, Kyrios is getting through this Mylon Z fight, so going to pick up their package, and we'll see if Kyrios resets or not out of that.
Opts to not reset out of it.
Yeah, so might just be keeping the XP, which is completely viable as well.
Yeah, I have no complaint about keeping the experience in this situation. you just, I mean, yeah, it's you wanted to see it, the sand ruby right there, so that you for sure gonna lock in that experience. But hey, it's fine. We'll just go over next door. We'll Kyrios won't know this, but we'll have to go through a pretty painful DKC spot.
Yeah, the DKC spot is certainly interesting here, as Kyrios again does have that curse ring, can just slap it on someone and would be able to fairly easily get through this. Thought about peeking the boss, but then realized, wait a second, I have to fight this. I know this has my Sand Ruby, but just says, heck it, I'm charging in. I got this under control. With a 2,529 HP Edge is going to need a little help, has exactly 1 Cure 3. Hopefully that is going to do it. 2 high rolls here. That Edge could still die, oddly enough. That is a low roll, though. Cannot possibly perish from here. So Kyrios also is through. So both runners able to get through that DKC first try. So very well done by both. And we'll see how quickly Blaze can get through this hook route. Again, y'all, this is a super close race. I still think Moonblaze might be ever so slightly ahead, but we have not seen the Giant yet. Anything could happen up there.
Yeah, that Giant of Babel could either be like a free fight, or it could just be quite a blockade that will need an adjustment, and we're going to be seeing that Giant of Babel come up right now, since Kyrios has already done the Falcon, which moonblazewolf has not done. So we'll see if this becomes a blockade, or Kyrios may be able to just squeak out some advantage here. I don't know. It really depends.
Yeah, and after Kyrios completes the Giant of Babel, we'll still have to forge, turn in the Sand Ruby, turn in the Pinktail. So there's a lot still to be done. And that's why it's impossible to tell who is ahead right now. Yeah, I just don't know how to put like betting odds on this one. I just don't know. It's going to be great to watch to the finish. I'm super excited to see who is still left here for the hook route. Excuse me, for the Giant. We already know the hook route.
Yeah, this is honestly really exciting to see. There's no clear-cut advantage. There's no clear lead set out, and it looks very, very close.
But, yeah, and we do see the crumble coming out for moonblazewolf, so that plague is down. Going to have that Falcon objective launch, and Moonblaze is going to be a Giant and a Forge away from being in go mode. And Kyrios is going to give us the first peek, and what we are met with is exactly the Magus Sisters, and this is frankly awful. I don't believe Kyrios has the Mute Knife that moonblazewolf does, so Blaze is going to chew through this quite a bit faster. The other awkward part about this fight is the way that it's set up. This would normally be a 65,000 HP split. Instead, Cindy gets like 50,000, Sandy gets like 30,000, and Mindy gets like 25,000. So this ends up being like 110,000 HP instead of 65,000. This is a brutal fight, probably the worst possible fight left for our runners.
Yeah, this is yeah. Once moonblazewolf sees that those Mega Sisters, is going to be very relieved in knowing that, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Mute Dagger on this. We don't need to worry about any Delta attacks or anything like that. It's just that, well, I don't know how much, if Kyrios will be able to chew through this, considering his choice to go to the Giant of Babel first before doing the Forge, doing the Pinktail, doing the Sand Ruby. And because right now moonblazewolf is right on his tail, hitting into the Giant of Babel, and it will be very happy to see that Mega Sisters, as I mentioned already.
Yeah, and again, that mute knife, I think it's so weird to say that a tier 4 weapon could decide this race. Like, that's how important the mute knife could be in this fight, because if Edge is dealing quad 9s on Blaze's side versus 4700 on Kyrios' side, it could be cutting the fight time in half. And if Kyrios were technically ahead or even coming into this fight, a single mute knife could literally determine the outcome of this race. It's just wild to think about that.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, so this, with considering the situation that moonblazewolf finds themselves in terms of standing within this ninja shirt division.
Yeah, and the Ninja Shirt division is stacked right now. You have Scythe Marshal at 3-1, Blaze at 3-1, Kyrios at 2-0. So this match goes a very long way in helping to determine the top, 3 seeds, those who would be playing in. This is a 7-person group, not a 6-person group that I had incorrectly alluded to at the start of the broadcast. So there is, a little more work to be done for these runners than just tonight. But getting to 4-1 in Blaze's case, or 3-0 in Kyrios' case would be huge. And it looks like this Magus Sisters fight has gone on long enough that Blaze is going to be in this fight while Kyrios is finishing it out. So just a huge amount of time that has been expended here for Kyrios. Going to have most likely a smoother Z fight because of anchoring, but this Magus Sisters fight just dragging for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I've already mentioned too that after the Giant of Babel is done, Kyrios still needs to first 1 forge, 2 do the Sand Ruby, and 3 do that Paint Tail on top of it. And yes, like just they're quick, but it's still time expended just to get that crystal, just to even have us to even get the Z fight started.
Yeah, and a nice little decision here to just swag on through, knowing that it's unlikely anything's left to take out the party here. Kyrios says, I don't need to do anything but Zerk up, and I'll be fine. And correctly assessed that this fight will be fairly easily handled. But as we had kind of talked about, that Edge popping off with quad 9s, that Eddie hitting for over 4K as well. This fight is literally just going to be twice as fast for Blaze, if not potentially even faster. So this is where just a huge amount of ground is made up by that tier 4 mute knife. Both the front and the back sister already down. There's even a chance that we get a Magus Sister grind here from Blaze. If that Cindy doesn't go down, the sisters will come back up, could pick up an extra 100,000 XP, make his Eddie even safer in the Z fight. Meanwhile, Kyrios is through the Giant and has taken out that Val. So is the first of our runners to complete the Giant, but there is Blaze already done with that Magus Sisters fight. Super, super quick fight there. And there is Cecil on the Giant. Haha, very funny. Well done, Harumph.
Yeah, that seems to be that seems like the most common theme with this. It's just that you find Cecil on the Giants like a lot. Either you find him on the Giants as you're about to finish this out, or you find him early. It's just like Cecil just does not want to make this, can't make up his mind as to where either he wants to be in the party or he does not want to be in the party.
Yeah, absolutely. Just no time for that Cecil, nothing that can be done with it. And now we get to see, can Kyrios take care of these other checks? The Forge, the Sand Ruby, and the Pinktail, and then head on over to Zeromus in the time that Blaze can get through this Val and head on over. I think Blaze is going to be the first runner into the Z fight. I think Kyrios has a better setup for a faster Z fight because of the anchoring situation with the cursed ring. One wipe either way, and this turns completely on its head. But it's still super close, and I don't think we can call a winner yet on this one.
No, it is still very, very close, as Moonblazewolf will be getting the final objective done. The rainbow will soon be completed. Over on Moonblazewolf's sides, will be rewarded with a crystal and a opportunity to fight Z.
Yeah, now one thing that did happen at the end of that fight, Porum missed out on 300,000 experience there. That is probably the one character you wanted to get XP there, just to make your Z fight a little safer. So that is potentially worrisome. Not too bad, but just potentially worrisome. Hopefully no scary big smashy counter nukes or anything like that. But definitely a bit of a terrifying little situation there.
Is going to take the Cecil.
This might be an anchoring play. Just to try to get a slightly better anchor. Cecil does start with 13 agility, which is a little bit awkward. 13 is not a great number, but may actually be fast enough with Edge and Eddie that they are both relative agility 1 regardless, since they're both going to have adamant armors on. So I think that's what Blaze is banking on here, which, if that's the case, it's actually super heads up, because that gives him the same type of turn parity that Kyrios is going to have without the necessity of a cursed ring. So Blaze is going to be headed in to the big bad final boss first, and that's a boss that, you know, you can't hide anywhere. It'd be too big and too mean. There's a bunch of flags coming out in chat, and Professor Renderer, the science bear yourself, I think there's a question for science that you have to ask.
For science, that is, you monster. No. But the actual question that must be asked for science is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And is it cute? And does it even have a butt? And the 5 main W's of butt. Who is butt? How is butt? Why is butt? What is butt? Etc. Those are the questions that must be answered in life.
Also, can butt help me with my 401k? That's, yeah.
I've been hearing that a couple times. That's honestly the funniest of the butt questions.
And this is interesting. We are getting a full moon equipped instead of a mute knife from Moonblazewolf. The reason I call this out, it's a very minor thing, but in a race this close, minor things count. The animation time on a full moon scares me. That's just something that I'm like, that's a couple seconds. It's like 1.5 seconds every time. So yeah, it's just one of those things like, ooh, I don't know. But we do have Yellowmus as the butt tonight. Definitely has a butt. So here we go. We have Moonblazewolf zerking away. That's 4,800 damage from Edge. We'll see how much Eddie is able to put out, and see where we go from here. The counter nuke hits Eddie. That is potentially devastating. Oh, Eddie goes down, taking just over 1,218 damage. This is really sketchy for Moonblazewolf now. Needs to get that Edward back up and zerked immediately. Yeah, this race just got even closer, as Kyrios now also stepping into their Z fight.
Yeah, I will say though, I like to make the argument that maybe that sprite in particular doesn't have a bug, considering how the Yellow Devil just operates in original Mega Man. Just the fact that he just degenerates and then regenerates themselves just to spite Mega Man. I probably think that's just, there's no bug for him. That's my opinion though.
That's completely fair. It's very tough to say, but as Scala Kitty, our resident art director, and the creator of the vast majority of the, I don't know, 670,000 sprites that are out there now, it's obviously slightly exaggerated. Scala Kitty points out it's got legs, and therefore it has a butt. And as the creator of so many of these, I'm going to believe Scala Kitty.
Yeah, I do believe her as well.
And looks like the counter nuke. Uh-oh, here we go. Both Edwards get hit, but fortune favoring the bold on Kyrios' side, that extra HP that Edward has saves him, and Eddie gets to Zerk another day. So a little bit of extra firepower on Kyrios' side. Can Kyrios close the distance? Or will moonblazewolf be able to pull this one out? Both teams zerking away at this Yellow Moose. Eddie is down on Blaze's side. Fusoya stuck with but 91 health and a dream right now. Edge is whacking away. There is rocks though. This fight is in the bag for moonblazewolf. Is Kyrios going to be able to catch up? There's another swing from Edge. I don't believe that Kyrios has the time because this hit is going to do it, and moonblazewolf takes this one down. What an incredible race between one of the old hats of Free Enterprise and one of the young guns coming out from the Pink Puff League Season 2. The Pink Puff Season 2 champion, Kyrios. What a race, and GG's to moonblazewolf, and we'll see if we can get them in for an interview.
Yeah, this was an incredible race all the way through, and the fact that it came as close as it did, even going to dueling sea fights, just shows that this group is loaded.
Yeah, this group is loaded, and with how close this is, I fear that it was exactly that mute knife that made the difference, because that Magus Sisters fight was so smooth for Blaze. I do wonder if that legitimately covered the gap that Kyrios may have made up by having the turn parity, and there it is, the crack in the boom on Kyrios' side. So both runners finishing within a minute of each other, and I think with double dings in our ears. GG's to both moonblazewolf moving to 4-1, and Kyrios unfortunately dropping to 2-1, but what a heck of a show. GG's to both of you.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this was one incredible performance from both of their, like just to put into perspective, that's like 55 seconds apart. That is very, very close.
It felt like it was going to be tight down the stretch. I was not taking every save I normally did, and I was trying to cut every corner that I could just to get across the finish line, because I knew it was one of two things. Either we routed it exactly the same way and it was a foot race, or Kyrios didn't fall into the rat tail rabbit hole that I did, and I probably had already lost, but you never know, so...
Yeah, same here. Like when I didn't see the done and I kept not seeing it, I knew that it was just going to be pretty close either way, because I know that Moon's a pretty good racer, and I think we've had some pretty similar results in the past in some of the asyncs. So it was going to be close no matter what. And once it became clear that we both kind of did the same thing on the rat tail.
Yeah, just to echo that back, Kyrios is awesome. I watched most of your race against Scythe Marshall yesterday, and I was not sleeping on this one. I knew this one was going to be really, really close. I don't know if I knew it was going to be this close, but that was about as close as it gets. So GG's.
Yep, same to you.
So I wanted to just ask Moonblaze first here. What do these two words mean to you? Mute knife.
You know, I was thinking about that at a couple points, but obviously that Magus Sisters fight, it came up huge, but also I was able to one-shot the Asura going through the hook route. And yeah, I was trying to remember, I'm like, this mute knife has given me a lot of utility, and I picked it up in the back of the Tamra shop because just the beginning of the seed was, the routing got super weird. Like, I'll be curious to watch it back and see how similar everything was beginning to end, but I basically got underground with no money. And when I get underground with no money, what I usually do is I go to Tamra and open those 6 chests in the back. And say hi to Jobdwarf because he's pretty neglected in this format. But yeah, that's where that mute knife was, and boy, I think that probably made the difference, to be honest.
Yeah, I said hi to Jobdorf and didn't open the chests.
Oh wow, man of the people.
Yeah. I did also want to ask us one other quick follow-up question to Blaze, just to see if we had the right read on this. I'm assuming you intended to buy 10 Bacchus wines twice, not 10 coffins twice.
Yeah, that was yeah. Honestly, Bacchus is always at the top of shop lists, and my brain just puts it there. I don't know why. That must be like the one item that goes ahead of it. The first time I did it, I should have reset out. It would have only cost me like 20 seconds. And then the second time I couldn't do it because I hadn't saved since before I fought the element spot. And
Gotcha.
yeah, that was not fun. So the third time I made sure I bought Bacchus wine.
No, I wanted to make sure that we hadn't read that this was some sort of like 5-head play, that you were planning something.
No.
Yeah, one of those that thankfully didn't come back to haunt you in any way, which was great.
I have to tell you though, I was really hoping to run into the Baron Inguards in the Giant. They were going to eat coffin if I had found them, let me tell you.
Absolutely. And Kyrios, on your side, I wanted to ask about your early looting, because you had gone through Eblan Castle and you cleared out the left side of the tower, which had some great finds for your team. Things like a white spear, things like a cursed ring, which Blaze did not have. How comfortable were you feeling with your early routing with the team that you had and your early looting?
Yeah, I felt pretty good about it. When I don't get a starting item that pushes me somewhere else, I do like to start in Eblan Castle. And then with the early magma, I like to take, especially the first half of the Cave to the Fey March, as long as I don't hit the monster chest, or you hit the monster chest and you get to do all of it, because I find that there tends to be a lot of random value there. So definitely the Murasame was kind of dictated as much as the White Spear, how the seed went. And actually was why I didn't bother checking Tomer, because at that point I'm like, full moon, Murasame, maybe I get something better, maybe I don't, but at least I'm good to go.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And speaking of some routing and such, we saw that you had decided to go through and do the hook into the Luca cave check. Was that a cognizant decision just because of how smooth it routes? Or like, were you not planning on saving that for the giant to hook? Did you just want to do it and get it out of the way then? Kind of take us through some of your routing choices there.
So for that, I wanted to do that kind of the next time I went underground, because I hadn't grabbed any Bacchus wines, because I dipped in like right at the beginning to get the character and had no money. And I was at the point where food's nice and all, but with that edge, just want to hit the Bacchus. So basically the first opportunity I had to get a smooth route in to do that, I just wanted to get it done.
Gotcha. So very interesting that Bacchus actually drove the decision more so even than the objectives. That's some very cool insight there. Appreciate that.
I definitely thought about it also, just because I didn't want to have to move the hovercraft again, but I ended up kind of resigning myself to having to do that twice. But the thought occurred to me as well for that reason also.
Oh, excellent. Professor Renderer, I apologize, I've hogged the mic a little bit here. Any questions for Blaze and Kyrios on this fantastic race?
Yeah, I was gonna make this quick. I was gonna ask you specifically to the thought process going into after realizing what that big chain that led from Twin Harp to Zot to Luca Key ended up being nothing. How were you feeling knowing that led to nothing for both of you?
That it really hurt. I think the one thing I hung my hat on is I knew that Kyrios won his race against Scythe yesterday by staying on Earth in full clearing. So I was hoping that he had decided to do the same things that I did, and you have to just kind of let it go and not worry about it at that point. But yeah, it really takes the wind out of your sails when you go through that, and basically all you get to show for it is an Edward.
Yeah, and it helps when it's such a long chain too, honestly, because once you're spending 6, 8, 10 minutes on that kind of thing, it's at the point where either your opponent did it or your opponent didn't do it, and that's out of your control. So you don't worry about it, and you finish the seed as fast as you can.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a heck of an attitude to have towards that.
totally makes sense on that front. Yeah, that's the only question I could really ask, really.
Well, then let's look forward a little bit. I know y'all have one of the rare 7-person groups in the tournament. Blaze, you're up to 4-1 now, which puts you in a fantastic spot. Uh, who is your last opponent? When are you looking to face them, if you know yet?
Yeah, so my last opponent is Sheep Marshal or Sheep Launcher, excuse me. I've got Scythe Marshal and Sheep Launcher mixed up in my head, boy. Me and Sheep are going to race next Wednesday, and that will be my final match of the group.
Excellent. And Kyrios, same question to you. How many? I guess you have 3 races left then. Whom are they against, and any idea when they're going to be, so we know when to watch for you next time?
I've got Dishmu in a Friday afternoon matinee this week. I've got Sheep Launcher tentatively for next Saturday at 9 a.m. Ugh. And then I still have to schedule with Dr. Cossack.
Gotcha. Well, definitely.
I just want to give one more bonus preview because I think this is going to happen in our group. So if myself and Kyrios and Scythe Marshal all take care of business in this last week and a half, we'll have a 3-way tie for first place.
But I thought that ties weren't allowed, Blaze.
Oh, well, in this case, they are going to be. So, I mean, it's obviously a long way to go, but that would be really fun if we all got to race again, I have to say, after today.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the shows that have been put on, how close the races have been between y'all to this point, it would be phenomenal to see everyone battle it out in this group for that first position. Then the second position as well, since there would be multiple tiebreakers, I believe, in that situation. So that would be fantastic to see everyone go at it. But I guess with that, we'll let y'all enjoy your evenings. Any final words on the seed or on the tournament or anything we should look out for from either of y'all going forward?
Cecil, stop being in the giant. It's getting really annoying.
I've run 3 seeds in the group match, and Feymarch King has been elements for all 3 of them. I don't know what the odds are, but that seems just out of there. As always, thanks to the whole stream team, everyone for putting this together. It was great, and I'm glad we got to put on a good show for y'all.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to watching it back. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both. And again, what a heck of a show that was put on. Please do make sure to give both of our runners a follow, moonblazewolf and Kyrios. Give those links a click. Give that follow button a smash. You think this race was good? They race this game all the time. Check them out. It is well worth your time. So I would highly, highly recommend it. But Professor Renderer, I think we still have more free enterprise tonight, right? This is not it at all.
Oh yeah, there is still a lot of free enterprise to go on. So let me get the page up. So yeah, at around 11 p.m. Eastern time, here on Free Enterprise 1, we're gonna have Dishmu and Sheep Launcher, another one of the Ninja Shirts matches. So stay tuned for that. And there's already a couple of matches going on already just in today alone. So if you haven't gotten a chance to watch those, yeah, just don't spoil this. Otherwise, Skull's gonna come at you with the bonk.
Yeah, so for this evening, we are not done with Free Enterprise yet. We do want to make sure to give a huge thank you to Harumph for this fantastic seed and a great job with the restream. Angie Dave for getting to push literally every possible button. And I believe a +1 on a package reset. So thank you to Dave for all of your hard work. Harumph, great job again on the restream. Professor Renderer, it was an absolute joy to do this with you. So y'all, please make sure to follow everyone on the restream team. But we will be going over and rating to friend of Free Enterprise, currently practicing for their match again in the Ninja Shirt group with Scythe Marshal tomorrow. We're going to be rating Dr. Cossack. So again, as Professor Renderer did state, please do not give any spoilers to this race. We want to make sure that should Dr. Cossack or any of his audience want to watch this race back, they are not spoiled. We're going to highly suggest that they do watch this back. So please remember, y'all, there is one more race on Restream tonight coming up in about 45 minutes to an hour on this here channel, Free Enterprise. But again, for Professor Renderer and the rest of the Restream team, I am Possum Morpheus, and I hope y'all have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Take it easy.